Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Today is the 4th day of January and the second episode of season 3 of the Be Your Own Hero show. Hero is an acronym. It means helping everyone reach optimism, as it says right there on my hoodie. That means it's a reciprocal action. As you help others, you also help yourself. So check that out. Try it in your life, and you will definitely see the results. I'm your host. I am Sekouwrites. I am a professional creative and the creator of the Hero Ministry movement, which has expanded from Hero hoodies to being my broad way of attempting to uplift and inspire the unhoused community through a number of different ways, including these wearable affirmations like my hoodie. You can still find the hoodie and the mask and the socks and all things hero related at my website, sekouwrites.com. Okay, so shout out to New Thought Media Network for allowing me the space and opportunity to be here and talk about my journey of becoming my own hero. Disclaimer, I'm not a personal trainer and I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own due diligence. Check me out here Monday through Friday, 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time, for me to hear me talk about my journey of becoming my own hero. And if this show provides any value to you, please like, please comment, please share, please spread the word, and you can make a donation. The donation information is in the show notes just below the show. All right, so that's all my introductory stuff. Welcome, welcome. I appreciate you being here. Shout out to the heroes in the chat. Shout out to Nan. Shout out to Tim with the morning cup of coffee for everybody. Appreciate that. Okay, so Hero Ministry Movement news. I'm going to start there as per usual, although I am going to change a few things for quote unquote season 3. All right, so for season 3, if you missed yesterday's episode, I said that the theme for season 3 is doing. Doing is also an acronym. If you're not aware, before the Hero clothing line, there was a Doing clothing line. It still exists, and it's on my Etsy page. If you just go to giveherohoodies.com, you'll find both the Hero stuff and the Doing stuff. Doing is an acronym, and when I created it, I discovered fairly quickly that other people who were buying and wearing the Doing apparel were creating their own acronyms, which was really fun. So I've been keeping my acronym quiet so that I'm inviting people to create their own acronyms. So my point is that not only is it a word, not only is it an action word, doing, it's also an acronym, and it can be whatever acronym you want. And if you want to wear something that says doing to remind you of what it is you are doing, check out the shop. It's the same website, giveherohoodies.com or just sekouwrites.com. I'll put one of those up on the screen in a minute. Okay, so all that said, my energy around season 3 is being practical. We've talked a lot about mindset, and I definitely will continue to talk about mindset because it's so important. But also I want to talk about practical steps, practical things we can do to change our financial future. Okay, so that said, any additions to Studio D? Yeah, there's this water bottle. This is from Fleet Feet. This is from the 5K that I did on the very first day of the year. They gave us these water bottles. Maybe that's it for now. Maybe I'll just talk about one thing. There's a few new things, but maybe I'll just talk about one thing per day until I run out of things. Anyway, I'm again grateful to have spent the morning of the new year in a run with Black Men Run and Fleet Feet, and that was a very empowering way to start the year. I've never done that before, and now I think that's what I want to do every year. Oh, maybe there's a midnight run. Maybe I can create a midnight run. Oh, I got to write that down in a minute. So that's how I spent the new year. And today is day 218 of my run streak. Just a reminder, I've been running every single day, at least a mile a day since the first day of June. So today is day 218. It's 27 degrees here in Nashville. So it was a cold, cold, cold run, but not my coldest. So I felt encouraged by that. Like even when it's cold, if I can just remember that I've run in colder weather than what the current temperature is, then it makes it a little bit easier. So I did about 1.5 miles today. Watch the run report. Does anybody watch the run report? Let me know in the chat who watches the run report. But I posted the run report on TikTok, my Facebook page, and Instagram. And I said a few things more than what I just said now. So go check that out. All right. So on that note, I mentioned yesterday that a few people have been inspired by me, which is very encouraging. And one person said that she started a bicycle streak because of me, a exercise bicycle streak, not out, an indoor exercise bike, like not out on the streets riding a bicycle, but indoor bike. And so I am inviting you, all of you out there under the sound of my voice, to start your own streak. And it does not have to be exercise. Her streak is exercise. She's on day 3, about to be on day 4. But I invite you to start a streak of any kind, I've heard about a woman who started a streak of drinking 1 glass of water a day. That's it. 1 glass of water a day. And she wanted to see how many days that she could go. And it made a tremendous difference in her life. These streaks really do make a difference. And it's hard to understand it unless you do it. So grab yourself a sheet of paper, write down what thing you're going to do every day for X number of days. It could be every day for a week, every day for a month. I would suggest 30 days. Not the end of the month, but 30 days from the day you start. Because again, it will engender some changes that you can't expect. So whatever it is, decide what it is today, write it down today, start the streak tomorrow, 30 days of continuous something. And again, it could be really small, like drinking a glass of water a day. That's my practical tip number 1 for today. Okay, so moving forward, I want to just make a quick comment about my quality of the year. Last year, my quality of the year, this came from working with Rev. Melissa. She invited all of us to decide what our quality for the year would be. My quality was abundance. And so throughout 2021, I meditated on the idea of abundance. And it has been manifested in my life in many different ways. And one of the ways it's been manifested is this show. Another way that it's been manifested is in people like the woman I just described, being inspired by me and making changes in their life because of me. So this is more an exercise for me. I think I'm going to keep reminding myself of the various ways that abundance has shown up in my life, just for me. And I hope you get some utility out of it. Also, you should decide a quality of life for yourself, and check out Sit with Rev. Melissa, where she will be talking more about that. I'm getting tongue-tied today. Where she will be talking more about that on Sit with Rev. Melissa. Okay, so morning Zen today. I did read the Dalai Lama, but what I read there didn't really stick. So I went to some other readings, and I've got 2. I've got something from the 30-Day Mental Diet, and I've got something from the Science of Getting Rich. So from the 30-Day Mental Diet, here we go. The problems you encounter in your daily experience are external to you. Leave them there. You can deal with them much better if they are out where you can see them, properly appraise them, and determine an adequate course of action. However, once you bring them into yourself, you find your mind becomes a turmoil, your emotions erratic, and your body begins to malfunction. Strong words, great thought. Keep your worries, keep your challenges outside of your visceral system. Keep them out there where you can see them. Don't let them come in. And it requires practice. To separate you from the challenge that you're experiencing. Okay, so that was that was 30-Day Mental Diet. And this is the Science of Getting Rich. To think health when surrounded by the appearance of disease or to think riches when in the midst of appearances of poverty requires power. But he who acquires this power becomes a mastermind. He can conquer fate. He can have whatever he wants. I'm going to read that one again, at least part of it. To think health when surrounded by the appearance of disease, or to think riches when in the midst of poverty requires power. But he who acquires this power becomes a mastermind. Again, this definitely requires practice, but it's the evidence of things not seen, right? It requires practice to see the evidence of things not seen, especially when you're in the midst of it. So, good reminder. Also, a reminder for you, this is from The Science of Getting Rich, which is the book that I read in my podcast, Get Rich 101. So check the podcast out. Again, it's being streamed in 38 countries last time I checked, so it's gone global. So you can listen to it in the background while you drive or while you work, or you can spend some concentrated time listening to it. But it's an easy way to ingest these very fundamental ideas about mindset. And also in the podcast, you'll hear me respond in real time to what I just read. So that's kind of interesting too. All right, so check out the podcast, Get Rich 101. Okay, so that is my morning zen. So let's shift gears and move into abundance. All right, so let's do our affirmation. Good morning, Gladys. Thanks for checking in. Let me find the affirmation. Same affirmation for season 3 as season 2. I want it to become second nature to myself and to you too. So here we go. I'm so happy and grateful to be a multi-millionaire in every area of my life. I am so happy and grateful to be a multi-millionaire in every area of my life. All right, let that sink into your bones. Okay. So I'm not going to reset the room. I feel like everybody knows the show starts at 9:45 a.m. now. So it started at 9:45 and it's a half-hour show. So moving forward, I will continue to do this reminder. Poor people spend, the middle class saves, but the wealthy invests. Poor people spend, the middle class saves, but the wealthy invests. That means if you're spending and you're saving, you still have to invest. That's how you move from poor or middle class to wealthy, by investing. Okay, so what I decided I want to do for season 3 is to have a weekly theme, and the weekly theme is an excuse. I want to deconstruct excuses for us and help us find solutions. So I'm going to give that a go. Today is the first day of that, and the excuse that I'm attacking is I don't have enough money to invest. The excuse I'm attacking this week is I don't have enough money to invest. Okay, this one hits close to home because this is one that I repeated for many years. Oh, I'll invest when. That's actually the way I did it. Oh, I'll invest when. When there's a lump sum, when there's a windfall, when my financial circumstances change, that's when I'll invest. And we know now, if you've been watching the show, that the fallacy in that thinking is you'll be an amateur, right? Like if you wait until you get a lump sum and then you say that when you get that lump sum, you'll invest it, you won't know how to invest it because you haven't been practicing investing. So the likelihood of you losing that money is high. And that automatically makes me think of many of the sports players who got windfalls when they made it to the NBA or the NFL and they lost it all. You got to know how to invest before you get the money so that when you get the money, you can invest properly. So that's the first part. The first part is you want to practice. You want to practice now with $1 and $2 so that when you get the $500,000, you know exactly what to do with it. And again, I don't know what everybody's financial situation is, but I'm being general. So the first part is mindset. You want to practice. Second part, here's my tool of the day, let's call it. A tool of the day is when you get paid, however you get paid, if, you're working a job, wages, or you get a disbursement from somewhere, however you get income. Early in the morning on the day that you get that income, I want you to take a piece of that money and put it someplace else. So let's make that even more practical. Let's say the homework is to create a new account. Create another bucket, as my mom would say. Create another bucket. Create another savings account. Now that's easy. That's something you can do online in a few minutes. You can create another savings account, right? When you get paid, the very next time you get paid, as soon as the money comes in, as soon as you become aware of the money coming in, go in and shift at least 10% out of your checking account over into that new bucket. Immediately, right off the top, don't even think about it. Just figure out 10%, move it over. And then celebrate, and then take a break. Celebrate, and then take a break. Celebrate paying yourself first, and then take a break from financial activity. Like that's it. Just pay yourself first, done for the moment. And then later on in the day or the next day, then you can come back in to start paying bills. But make a separation between paying yourself and feeling good about paying yourself first, and then later pay the bills. Like create an emotional separation. Celebrate yourself for paying yourself first, and then later take care of all the bills. All right, so I'm gonna need you to write this down. If you're gonna do it, write it down, because when you write it down, there's studies have shown that if you write a goal down, you're like, I think it's 60%. You're 60% more likely to actually accomplish the goal just by writing it down. So I will recap what I've talked about thus far, but write it down. Write down that you are going to pay yourself first this year, and then write down the percentage. If it's 10%, if it's 20%, if it's 30%, whatever it is, I am going to pay myself 10% first this year. I'm going to pay myself first this year. It's going to be 10% of everything that comes in. Okay. So that feels really solid and practical. Next thing I want to mention is a resource. And I know I have a list of resources, but I want to kind of break it down into smaller chunks to be more useful. So today's resource is a book that I've mentioned before, The Psychology of Money. The Psychology of Money. Let me get the author's name. By Morgan Housel. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Okay, so if you remember, when I was talking about this book before, that might have been season 1. I was talking about this book before. I mentioned the fact that he talks about a man in the book whose name is Ronald James Reed. Ronald James Reed. Ronald Reed was the first person in his family to graduate from high school. Made even more impressive by the fact that he had to hitchhike to high school. So he had to be very committed. He was the first person in his family to graduate from high school. He had normal jobs. He worked as a gas station attendant for part of his life, and then as a janitor for the other part of his life. He was married once and widowed. He bought a 2-bedroom house, stayed in it his whole life, and had a fairly unremarkable life. His hobby was chopping firewood. No largesse, no big expenditures. It was a very simple life. When he passed away, he left $8 million to 2 folks. He left $2 million to his stepkids and $6 million to the local hospital and library. $8 million. He passed away with a net worth of $8 million. And in the book, what I say is the author's name is Morgan Housel, talks about how this man did it. But I'll just tell you what it is. It's very simple. All he did was he took a piece of his paycheck from working on cars and a piece of his paycheck from being a janitor, and he put it into blue chip stocks. That's all he did. All his life, all his working life, he would take a little piece, put it into blue chip stocks, and leave it there. Take a piece, put it into blue chip stocks, and leave it there. And that was the only thing he did. And so if that's all you do, you can create a significant net worth. I'm trying to figure out if I should talk about net worth. I don't want to. I don't want to go too far off on a tangent, but let me just say that a net worth, if you're unfamiliar, can be very beneficial to you because on paper you're worth X amount of dollars. So this man, Mr. Reed, on paper was worth $8 million. Right? He could have walked into any bank and said, "Okay, I want a loan," and they would have given it to him because his net worth was $8 million, and he could have used that loan to buy another asset, like real estate or. Okay, so I don't see. I feel like I'm going too far afield. I want to keep this pretty tight and specific. The point is, all he did was take a little piece of his paycheck and put it into blue chip stocks, and that's it. And he created a multi-million-dollar net worth. So you can do the same thing. Blue chip stocks are simply the big stocks. Like it's actually a term derived from poker. Blue chips are the highest denomination chips in poker. But the point is, blue chip stocks, the idea is that these are the stocks that have stood the test of time, that are going to keep on keeping on and keep on going up in value. So as we know, because of season 2, what we talked about there, the easiest way to invest into blue chip stocks is to simply buy an index fund. An index fund has done all the legwork for you. They've allocated resources to, well, let's just use the S&P 500. There are 500 companies within the S&P 500, and those 500 companies are the biggest companies in the United States. So you get to invest in 500 of the biggest companies in the United States at once by investing in the S&P 500. And the vast majority of those companies are blue chip. So you don't even have to do the research. You can just pinch a little bit off of whatever you make and put it into an index fund. Make it even more specific. Pinch a little bit off of whatever you make, put it into the S&P 500. Pinch, move, pinch, move. So back to today's tip. Pay yourself first. Put it in that new bucket that you just created, that savings account. And then when it reaches a certain amount, move it over into the S&P 500. Right? Simple. Be like Mr. Reed. Take a little piece of what you make, put it over there into blue chip stocks and let it grow. Let it compound, let it grow. Okay. I think that's it. Like, there's all these other things I want to say, but I feel like I don't want to muddle it. Like, let's just keep it really, really simple. Homework. Write it down. Write down the fact that you are going to pay yourself. Make a commitment to yourself to pay yourself every time some money comes in. I'm going to pay myself first this year every time some money comes in, and this is the percentage I'm going to pay myself. Write that down. That's part 1. Part 2, create a bucket. Create a separate savings account. If you don't have one already, create a separate savings account, a place where you are going to put this money. And part 3, the very next time you get some money coming in, take a little piece, pinch it off, put it into that new bucket, and then celebrate. Celebrate the fact that you paid yourself, and then wait till later, hours later or a day later, to deal with your bills. Create a separation there. Okay. I think that's all I want to say. Because you know how I get. You know how I get. If I start talking too much, I'll muddy the water. So I just want to stick there, write those things down, and start a notebook. Because again, this season I intend to create a number of practical steps. So you're going to want to write them down, keep a record of things to do. Use what works for you, ignore the rest, but use something to move yourself forward. And again, the book that I mentioned today is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I haven't even finished reading the book, but it is really mind-boggling how impactful it is. Because essentially, I'll just say this, because this is just about the book. Essentially, we know what to do, right? Like what I just talked about a few minutes ago isn't rocket science. You've heard that before. But what Morgan Housel talks about in the book is there is a vast gulf between knowing what to do and doing the right thing. And that's based on psychology. It's based on our feelings about money, not our knowledge about money, but our feelings, what we grew up feeling about money, what we grew up watching our parents and siblings and the world around us feel about money. He talks about how if you grew up during a depression, that will impact the psychology that you have about money. Regardless of how much you learn about money, your psychology will still impact how you treat money. So it's about breaking that mindset or shifting that mindset, and that's the hard work. You got to shift the things that you ingested subconsciously about money. So that's it. It doesn't matter if you know what to do if you won't do it, because you know what to do, but then when it comes time to do it, you feel a certain way. You feel tight or pinched or unable to do it, which is why I started with the excuse, I don't have enough to invest, because that's what most of us say. But what we're really doing is we're protecting the money that we have because we don't feel like it's the right thing to do to invest. Okay. So that's it. I'm gonna stop talking now. All right. So just recapping, make maybe a notebook, create a notebook and write down that you're going to pay yourself, write down how much you're going to pay yourself, create a new bucket for your funds, check out the book, The Psychology of Money, use Mr. Reed as your inspiration. He had menial jobs, just a high school education, and he ended his life as a multi-millionaire. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and close out early for a change. Stay tuned for prayer time, which is coming up at 10:15, and then stay tuned for Sit with Rev Melissa, which is coming up at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. But there's a lot of comments. Okay, so I'm going to end early, but I'm looking at the comments, and I am going to reply to those tomorrow. So keep doing. Be a hero. Be your own financial hero. Remember that now is better than perfect, meaning now is the perfect time to invest. Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait. Create your bucket. Remember Mr. Reed, and know that you too can end your life as a multimillionaire. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Later.